Hello and welcome to the Guitar Collection. In my hands is a guitar by the great American luthier Stephan Connor. And if you've been a part of the classical guitar world for even a small amount of time, this is a name you've heard and a guitar you've definitely seen, because countless professionals around the world choose his instruments. Just to name a few, the Assad brothers, Marco Tamayo, Anabel Montesinos, Eliot Fisk, two of my former professors, Adam Holzman and the late great Bruce Holzman, both use these guitars. And if you go to Stephan Connor's website, you can see a list of artists, and it's just incredible, both young players and older players. But to get more into this guitar, you know what? I'll start with just the specs of this guitar because that is extremely interesting, although I don't want it to overshadow the sound and playability of this guitar, which is just outstanding. About this guitar, Stephan has been known for making really great lattice brace guitars for many, many years. As far back as I can remember, I remember trying Stephan Connor's guitars like maybe 10 years ago and them being all lattice brace. As of recently, the past few years or so, I believe, he's been doing more and more Doubletop guitars. And I've caught wind of them. I've heard from a number of players that they're really great. And it was about time that I ordered a guitar from Stephan Connor, and he graciously made one for me. Sure enough, this guitar is amazing. Back to the specs. What you'll notice just from looking at the top of the guitar is that it is obviously a cedar top guitar, a cedar double top. You have this really elegant armrest here, which is nice and thin. I don't really like the ones that take up a huge amount of space on the soundboard. I call them sausage armrests. I don't like those. And then when you look at the bridge here, you can see it's a piece of, I believe, Madagascar rosewood, which I'll show you on the back in just a moment. But as you look closer, you'll notice, wait a second, that is not the normal bone-colored saddle. Steve told me this is actually a piece of ironwood, which he found gave it I believe he said a warmer, rounder character, and I have to agree. In fact, when I saw it at first, I thought, you know what, I really wonder what a normal bone saddle would sound like. So he gave one to me, and I have one with this guitar, and I have to say, I think I prefer this ironwood. I think it's called Sonoran ironwood or Sonoran desert wood, one of those two. Anyhow, I think it adds a nice character to the guitar. It's subtle, but it's very, very nice. Moving on, and this is one of the most interesting characteristics about, looking at the guitar face on here, but also as it affects the sound of the guitar, is this removable Tornavoz. Now, I've actually covered some guitars recently that have Tornavozes inside of them, and this is not a new thing, by the way. Hauser used Tornavozes all the way back to Torres used Tornavoz. Simplicio uses Tornavoz. So these guitars go back hundreds of years that use these. However, I have not seen before a removable Tornavoz. And in just a minute here, I'm going to show you how that works. But I want to cover the rest of the specs. What the Tornavoz does is it lowers the main air resonance of the guitar, and it makes it have a significantly deeper sound. I happen to really like this guitar, both with it in and with it out. Maybe sometimes when I'm just getting a little bit bored with the sound, I decide to take it out. And that's been really fun. So stay tuned and I'll show you that in a second. Wow, when I flip the guitar around, you'll see this spectacular set of Madagascar rosewood. And those of you that know Stephan Connor's guitars, you will know that he names these instruments. And this one's name is Petra. And while I don't think he likes revealing exactly why he named guitars certain names, this guitar, to me, is named Petra because the color of this resembles the ancient city of Petra. So if you Google that or you're unfamiliar, take a look and tell me if that doesn't look like a striking resemblance with the rock and that orangish color and the crevices and everything that you'll see in the figuring in the Madagascar rosewood here. It's really cool. I liked that name a lot. And then, of course, you might have seen me looking here, but you can actually see the name and the number of the guitar here, which is number 487, right through the sound port of the guitar, which Steve is also known for. I have a cover here for it, though, and if I would rather it not be covered, I can do that. One of my favorite things is that I can open it halfway, or just a little bit. Sometimes I feel that having it all the way open kind of bombards me with sound. But I really like experimenting between halfway open or completely open. And with the Tornavoz in, and this closed, it's the deepest sound possible with this guitar. We get a little bit into the nerdy specs and things about guitars, but when you have a ported guitar like this and it's open, the main air resonance of the guitar actually raises up. So it goes higher. And then when you close it, it goes back to what it would be if that hole was never cut, basically. And you can hear that difference in pitch. I did this in a live stream, which, by the way, I've been doing every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. But we're going to get more into the sound in just a moment. I keep on saying I'm going to finish the specs for this guitar. You'll also notice it has a raised fingerboard. It's not super dramatically raised, although it's a little bit more raised than, I would say, the typical German double-top guitar that you'll find. I find it quite nice. It's really easy to reach the upper frets on this guitar. It is 640 scale, so 640 millimeters from here to here, and that's 10 millimeters shorter than the typical scale, which I really like. That's how I ordered this guitar. Going up to the headstock, you'll notice this beautiful strip of sapwood, or maybe it's like figuring in Madagascar or something here. I can't remember what he said. This actually might be a piece of Brazilian. But anyways, yes, it's this beautiful figuring in the wood, little classy streak. I love it. And then to top it off, top of the line Scheller tuners here, which are just super smooth, fantastic tuners. Okay, I think I've covered all the specs here. I'm really anxious to get into the sound of this guitar because it's really a singing, beautiful, sustain-filled guitar. Gosh, I want to get to the Tornavoz thing too, but just listen to a few things on this instrument. Wow. Well, as you can see, this guitar is an absolute monster. It's like this, it's got so much power and growl in the bass here. And then so much sustain as well. And the first string on this guitar just pops off the guitar. You know, how I can describe it is that it comes to volume extremely quickly. It's very responsive, but then it stays there for so long and you can manipulate it however you like. That's C sharp. Oh gosh, you're gonna find me playing on this thing all night and just never explaining things about what I feel about the sound, but maybe you prefer that anyways. Okay, so what I wanted to say was the second I played a note on this guitar, once I went and picked it up from Steve Connor in Massachusetts, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, I have a interview of Steve Connor on my other channel, my Evan Tauscher channel, and I will link that in the description. He talks a lot about his philosophy of building guitars and a lot of the creative projects he's worked on. He's known for really personalizing guitars, and it's such a cool thing, so check that out. But what I was saying was, when I first picked this guitar up from Steve Connor and I played a chord on it, it sounded open immediately. This was not one of those instruments that you're like, oh, well, you know, it's gonna sound good after I play it a dozen hours. It didn't feel like that. It was wide open immediately. And it just has that characteristic to it. The depth of the guitar with this Tornavoz in is really enhanced. Now, I want to do a little comparison back and forth of the sound of the guitar with the Tornavoz in and the sound of the guitar with the Tornavoz out. Now, before I cut to that comparison, I wanted to tell you what my thoughts were about that, because I think that helps. I could play a certain set of pieces that it always sounds better with the Tornavoz in, and I could play a certain set of pieces where it always sounds best with the Tornavoz out. And I can explain why. Any slower, more sultry piece, drop D, you know, where it's enhanced, this low sound, is probably going to sound a little bit more impressive with the Tornavoz in. You know, like what I played in the opening here. Because there's so much depth that you get when you go slower here in the sustain, the bloom of the note. But when you play something a little bit faster, I think you might get bogged down in the depth a little bit. But it really depends. So speaking of, as far as the Tornavoz removal process, I promised I would tell you what I was talking about. How the heck do you get this thing out of here with the strings blocking it, right? You definitely don't push it in, you pull it out. So I'm gonna cut to that now and show you how you get it out. You basically just loosen the strings, either take them completely off or loosen them enough to where you can spread these wide enough to pull the Tornavoz through. So check it out, it looks like this. And here is this little, almost funnel-shaped cylindrical Tornavoz. I will set it to the side and tune this back up. And there it is. It's back in tune with no Tornavoz in. In case you're wondering how long it took from detuning the strings, taking the Tornavoz out, and putting the strings back up to tension and being in tune, I'll put the time on the screen here now. Okay, and we are back to the Tornavoz being inside the guitar because I'm going to record those clips first. So what I'll do next in this video is play a few examples with the Tornavoz in and then a few examples of the Tornavoz out. You'll be able to see which one is which by if there's this like white wooden rim here inside the guitar, which is the Tornavoz. And you let me know, what do you prefer? Do you prefer almost always the Tornavoz in, almost always with it out? I'm always undecided. I get used to it, no matter if I have it in or out, and I really like this guitar. So unfortunately, this instrument is not available, but if you are interested in a Stephan Connor guitar in the future, write to me, because he will be making some instruments for my shop, I'm happy to say. And also check out guitarcollection.com. I've got a lot of great instruments in right now. And if there's something that you're looking out for, you can always send me an email. Let me know. It's evan@guitarcollection.com. And also on the website, there's an email list that you can sign up for so that you get notified about instruments like this before they become available. That way you get advanced access to some photos and a description of the guitar. So don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and let's go to some musical examples here.
you.